So firstly, it's a question of, do you know what works? Do you have a routine? On the game plan call on Monday, there's a guy there who's been absolutely killing it. And one of the things is you just go, I've just got to get back to my routine. He's had his holiday, just going to smash out that routine. And when he does, morning and evening routines, he's just at the top of his game, and he's got things heading in the right direction. Everything else just takes care of itself. I'm Ian Hawkins, and this is Sport is Life. The purpose of sport, as I see it, is to see your vision become a reality. Find your voice, create strong connections, and learn to trust your body. Having a conversation with a mate on the weekend, we were talking about the Sydney Derby in the A-League and how the Wanderers were leading well, and then they went away from what was working. They tried to, they seemed to be playing to defend their lead instead of playing to win. And what usually happens is that suddenly they're under the pump. Sydney scored 2 late goals, and it's a draw in one of the greatest games of the year so far, really. Just the drama and the action, and when it's a derby, full house. Yeah, very good. And it always makes me shake my head as a football fan, but also someone who's been involved in soccer my whole life, is just that's what's possible, like big crowds. But we just still seem so far away, because in the other games of the weekend you might get 7,000 and the atmosphere is not the same. Anyway, I got a bit off track then, but the point of the conversation was around just that, not sticking to a winning formula. And if you look at it from a sports perspective, it's like the teams that are consistently winning, they're ruthless, and they have a plan and they stick to it, and they continue to focus on that. They might have a few different gears and they might have a few different ways of playing, but they know their style, and they just continue to play that way until the end. And obviously towards the end of a game, there are some subtle things that you can do, but you want consistency, you want truthfulness, you got to stick to your plan. You may not guarantee yourself success, but at least you can walk off knowing that you've given every chance. And now Tottenham are in a bit of a hole. They've got lots of injuries, but you hear Ange talk about it all the time. He's like, we don't play the scoreboard. We play, this is how we play. And just after that conversation, the weekend's game, it got me thinking how often we do that in our life too, where things might be going well and we stop doing the things that got us there. Often when someone I've coached previously comes back for some more coaching, it's usually that's the reason why, is that they've stopped doing the things that got them to success, and they need some accountability, maybe a bit of a kick up the arse, and they need a boost to make sure they're getting back to doing those things. So firstly, it's a question of, do you know what works? Do you have a routine? On the game plan call on Monday, there's a guy there who's been absolutely killing it. And one of the things is you just go, I've just got to get back to my routine. He's had his holiday, just going to smash out that routine. And when he does, morning and evening routines, he's just at the top of his game, and he's got things heading in the right direction. Everything else just takes care of itself. He doesn't go away from those. He also, one of the tasks to get people to do is a commitment to themselves. And he took a fair bit of time, effort and pride in making sure his commitment to himself was right on. And he reads it every day. I haven't had a client do that. And he's getting results. So there's something to that, right? Some people do bits and pieces, and some people, that's fine, because sometimes you don't need everything. I'm not saying everyone needs to have that, but he's consistent with it. He knows what works for him. Having that commitment works for him. Having those routines works for him, and he makes sure he does it. So do you know what works? Are you consistent? And do you have a process in place to make sure you can stick to the things that work and continue to move forward, so that you can continue to improve? At the very least, stay at the line, not find yourself drifting back into those holes. because sometimes when you hit those holes, it can be a quick fall, and then it can be a long, slow grind to get back to where you were. But if you are not looking at like prevention, like or papering over the cracks when things go wrong, or just putting a few things in place, and you're going to have relapses. But if you are looking at how do I continue to extend myself and improve, and how do I make sure I stick to the things that I know work, and how can I add more of the things that maybe I haven't learned yet that can extend myself, well, then you're going to be like the Wanderers on Saturday night. You're going to keep having those late flourishes from life that kick you down. And even if you come back to parity, it's going to feel like a loss because you had the game, you had life just where you wanted it. You've got to know your plan, and you've got to stick to it. You've got to have that consistency. So I've been banging on about it this week. Know your plan. And I won't bore you with more details about the planning session, but it is tomorrow if you're watching this on Wednesday. There will be an opportunity to get the recording. Really small investment. Or do it yourself. But you need to have a plan, and you need to know it works, and you need to be consistent with it. And if you're coaching a team, it's the same. Don't chop and change. Don't sacrifice your values and your beliefs because of what other people might be saying or doing. I remember the first year I coached at a high level in football, full 30-something man squad. I didn't have enough conviction in how I wanted to play and what I wanted to do, and I took advice from all these different people, and I didn't trust my instincts and judgment. And then later in the year, when I'm like, I need to do this, I acted, and it was too late. We're already in a massive hole. Now, thankfully, we didn't get relegated, but we went close. And it was because I wasn't clear. And then once I did get a bit clear, I didn't have the conviction to trust myself and follow through with the action. Again, it's an importance of having good mentors, listening to them, getting good advice, and then also knowing what it is that you want and being definitive about that. And I love, as all I talk about in this podcast, is how the transferable skills and moments and learnings across sport and life. Just love that. I've said to my coach, like, sometimes you just need to give me a rev up like it's halftime. Because I love that. I love having someone to say to me, you haven't got this done. What's going on? You said you were going to do this. Here's what we talked about the process. Go back and see the process. Are you doing the training? Are you doing the practice? Are you doing those things? And to me, that's just a great recipe for success. The Paul Roos book, which was a big inspiration for me, the Paul and Tammy Roos book was a big inspiration for me in so many levels. You know, he talked about living like an athlete. And I've learned over the years just how profound that statement was, and just how many of those lessons are so true. And actually, they're even more true. And there's so many more levels to it than I thought. So if you know that you've had that success in sport, or just that you enjoy that and you know you're going to get the best out of yourself, then start applying more of those skills into your day-to-day life, and you're going to see things transform before your eyes, especially if you keep it a journal and you're keeping track of it. I wanted to include this quote from one of the people from the game plan training this week. Journaling supercharges everything. That's what they'd experienced from the journaling process since they'd started making sure they were practicing gratitude, their wins, and then just journaling about what they're creating and what they want to create. It's just getting those ideas and those thoughts out of their head and putting it into written word, which makes it truth, which taps into your subconscious, which helps you go out and get it. It helps with that consistency, helps you stick to your routines and stick to your plans. Go make it happen. You've taken the time to listen to this whole episode. Now it's time to take action. Commit to one thing you've learned today and make it happen. And to avoid any obstructions, join the Sport is Life movement by clicking on the link in the show notes.